able to say, hey, councillor, here's the answer, and we'll come up with a consensus that way.
Did I ask everyone about cycling? I didn't ask Andrew. Andrew, what are your thoughts on what you would do for cyclists?
Well, the cyclists of Ward 30 cycle outside of Ward 30. In fact, they find it the fastest way to get downtown to work is by cycle. But the issue is there, connecting the lanes. The number one issue when I talk to people is, why aren't the lanes connected? Paula talks about talking to the various cycling groups, but I see so many things that the city has done, including the Queens Quay development that didn't segregate bicycle lanes, the new Bay Bloor, all that never-ending construction on that area, no segregated bicycle lanes, right-of-way on St. Clair. So many opportunities are missed by this city. So it doesn't really seem to me that they are listening to the cycle groups. Nobody wants to cycle on Jarvis with the cars whipping down there without a segregated lane. So that, so far, has just been a complete waste of money and an irritant to the drivers, of course. So connection, a logical web of bike paths expanding over time. It's certainly my vision. I've certainly had conversations with BIAs on the Danforth. There's concern, a lot of concern about the Danforth idea. I've come up with some ideas. Mark Dudney mentioned down the center, preventing any left-hand turns on the Danforth. One thing would be to do what they do on Dundas, which is have the lanes curl around the cars. That way, but take away the rush hour traffic, but you're actually giving the merchants more parking during rush hour. So actually, that would be a win for everybody.
Let's go back to the phones. Here's a question from Sean calling in from Ward 30. Sean, what is your question, please?
Hi there. I'm concerned about Withrow Park off-leash dog area. While I recognize that Ward 30 has many fenced-in off-leash dog parks, Withrow's highly utilized park dedicated to dogs has been neglected for much too long. We've been lobbying Councillor Fletcher for a fence for many years now and still have not received any results. My question is to all candidates. After years of neglect, when will we be able to look forward to the same recognition as the rest of the much newer dog parks in the ward?
And you're talking about Withrow Park in particular?
Withrow Park specifically.
All right. Okay. Mark Dudney, how would you answer that?
It's true. We've been down to Withrow and we've been knocking on doors, and we've encouraged residents to actually take us into the park. The dog run isn't the only concern. There's underbrush there that hasn't been pared away. There's a place where there's actually a picnic table right in the middle where people can hang out, drink, etc. You know, you can smell marijuana wafting out of there at all hours. It disturbs the neighbors. Withrow Park deserves a lot more personal attention. That's the kind of thing you need. It does need a fenced-in dog run for starters, but the problem is one of logistics. Where do you put it? I don't know if you've been down there, Dale, but it is kind of space limited. There's a great big terrace that goes up to the soccer field. Do you lop off part of the soccer field, etc.? There's no question a solution has to be found because there are many dog owners down there. It's another case of how do you balance a community's needs one to the other. It's one where you need a councillor who's actually going to come down to the park, who's actually going to say, okay, here I am. Present me some solutions, let me take them back to City Hall and Public Works and say, does this work?
Paula Fletcher, over to you.
Well, the good news is that that park is slated for the fence sometime in the spring of 2011.
To fence in a dog area, is that what you're saying?
There's been an off-leash area in that park for an awfully long time, and I think everybody remembers that at times it's been acrimonious, and there were the dog poisonings in that park. But over the last number of years, there has not been a lot of acrimony, but the area needs to be expanded where the off-leash would be. And now we're running into an area that was put together as a naturalized area by people that also live in the Withrow Park catchment. So that's the negotiations that are underway, but there will be the fenced-in area. I hope it will be expanded to include that piece that is currently naturalized, which would have to then become the dog area.
That's already approved by council, the fence?
Yes,
That's
yes.
coming.
I actually have been out there and had a look at that, and is the nature, will it be a post and paddle, will it be a metal fence, what will fit best
Right.
in Withrow? But meanwhile, in some other areas that have been very acrimonious and hot spots, there have been some standalone off-leash go-in, including the one that will be done this fall will be at Cherry Beach, which will divide the kiteboarders and swimmers from the dog off-leash area. So everything's planned and moving along, and I hope Sean thinks that's good news.
Andrew James, dog parks.
I've talked with many active dog owners in that area, and it is a mystery why it's taking so long. At Greenwood Park, the fencing was in the morning after they had a public meeting, a badly notified, especially from the parents' perspective, public meeting. But the morning after the public meeting to discuss it, the fencing's there. With Withrow, okay, now we're hearing 2011. But I can tell you at Greenwood, they've been waiting for fencing around the children's area for 2007. Paula was talking about fencing around the children's area in 2007. So there's no guarantee we're going to get this 2011 fence, but there certainly is a guarantee that if I'm elected councillor, there will be a fence, because you've got two high traffic streets there, Carlaw and Logan. You've got these huge burrs that stick onto the dogs, and they need to be protected from the underbrush around the area.
Liz West, how do you feel about dog parks?
How do I feel about dog parks? Well, I have a dog, and I have children, and I understand. I use that park regularly. I've spent a lot of time there, and it is a bit of a mystery why there hasn't been a fence yet, because we've seen them go up all around the city. And at the same time, I've talked to some of the people at the center of this debate, and the big question is, where do we put the fence? I think it's important as a dog owner that it can't be a small little pen-in area for the dogs, or it becomes an area that just smells like urine, and the dogs stand there and they don't actually get a chance to do what they're supposed to do, which is exercise. I also think we have to remember that dogs in parks provide safety, because it's dogs and dog owners that are constantly there. So when people do come at all hours of the night, they're often met by dogs and people, and that's a deterrent. What you heard Mark say is correct. There is a picnic table in the middle of the brush, and there are people loitering there, and there are burrs in the woods that stick to the dogs. So the area needs cleaned out. Move the picnic table. Let's put up a decent fenced-in area. But ultimately, I'd like to say I would wish that people and dogs could get along without having to put up fences. But I do understand the need for them, and we can't wait forever.
Mahali Varga, what are your thoughts on dog parks?
Well, I think a fenced dog park on the Withrow Park would be suitable. Just adding to my colleagues here, that the park also need to be maintained, also need to be beautified.